Okay.
It was a place
Okay.
called Bond Home.
Yeah.
Then we would go to his restaurant.
He knows the been there, but I
Station.
What? Yeah, it's actually a bunch of
I don't think that's gonna help you in this situation. This is quick.
It is. You don't have time. And in fact, I changed a couple times because my son's constant.
Things
Testing.
Not that I can recall.
Right. Counterintuitive.
So I had to make it.
It'd be hard to get control here.
go up along.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I brought it over to her. It's like, that doesn't feel good. He's the one who has to.
Timekeeper needs that.
He was a year ahead of me.
That goes more towards the middle part of the state. You have to go towards the river.
How you doing? Good.
Go ahead.
We appreciate you.
Oh, great. Please stand and remove your cap for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Hello. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the North Sioux City Town Hall. I'm honored to be your MC tonight as we come together, not just as residents of this wonderful community, but as neighbors, friends, and partners in shaping our future. I would like to recognize and thank our sponsors for this event, the American Legion, the McCook Lake Association, and the Dakota Valley Business Council. Over the past few weeks, we've faced challenges, especially with the recent flood. But true to the spirit of North Sioux City, we've also witnessed resilience, unity, and the kind of support that defines who we are. Tonight is about continuing that spirit, listening, asking questions, sharing ideas, and working together to build a stronger, more prepared, and more connected community. Thank you for being here and for caring about the future of our town. So let's get started. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few ground rules to help us make the most of our time together tonight. Please hold your applause or reactions so we can keep things moving smoothly and ensure everyone gets a chance to be heard. We ask that all questions and comments be respectful and to the point. Everyone's voice matters, and we want to hear from as many people as possible. So please be mindful of time limits during the question and answer. Disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. Anyone causing repeated interruptions or creating an unsafe or disrespectful environment will be asked to leave so that we can maintain a productive and inclusive discussion for all. If you haven't already, please silence your phones. Thank you in advance for making tonight's town hall respectful, efficient, and constructive. This session will end promptly at 8:30, and we have 10 candidates and many questions to answer, so there can be no delays. Candidates will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement about why they are running and 1 minute later on for their closing statements. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to any questions from the audience. Nancy, our lovely timer, will give a 15-second warning and a final warning. Okay, first off, let's see, where are we at now, darn it? We're going to start out with the candidate opening remarks, and we're doing that in ballot order. And what I would like, see if I get that right. If each candidate could first introduce themselves and they have 2 minutes for their opening questions, we would like to start with Chris Bogenreef.
Thanks, Dirk. Thank you all sponsors of this event. I think it's important. My name is Chris Bogenreef. I'm running for mayor. My mission is to protect, restore, and grow North Sioux City. Over 100 homes were sacrificed in the flood to save the rest of North Sioux City and Dakota Dunes. If elected, our group of candidates that includes Julie, Jessica, and David, we pledge to create a homeowner recovery fund to compensate those whose homes were damaged or destroyed. We have identified several sources to capitalize the fund, including the following. Number one, the short-term mitigation plan, funded 80% by FEMA, will provide funding for the purchase of some of the destroyed homes. Number two, the Federal Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, program will be contributing $15 million to 2 zip codes in South Dakota, including ours. Number three, new property taxes from Union Crossing will generate $1.5 million in the short term and much more in the long term. New sales tax revenue from Union Crossing will generate income in the short term. Number five, we will reprioritize city infrastructure projects like the Sioux Laundry lift station or perhaps the North Shore Bypass project to free up funds in the short term. Number six, we will ask the business community to contribute, and I will personally ask the Dakota Noon CID to contribute. These are just a few of the sources we have identified to create the Homeowner Recovery Fund. This community needs to step up and take care of our residents that sacrifice so much for the rest of us. It's the right thing to do, and we have a plan to do it now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Greg. I appreciate that. Greg Meyer?
Hello, thank you all for coming tonight. I'd like to visit about 3 items that I think are important for tonight's discussion. First, I would indicate that I champion and believe in an open and inclusive government. I think as I agree with Chris, we need better flood repair work. We need better flood planning. And we also thirdly need to control our city spending, including our utility rates. I think I've demonstrated my commitment to the open meetings and inclusion of the city population in our government by the petitions that I've circulated with Bob Davis and Vince Tucker, and to make changes that we are now experiencing within our community. I pushed for the streaming of city council meetings so the public can see their government in action and from the convenience of their home. I think that will help us include people in our government. We have to open up our government, though. We need to look at our mitigation program. We as a council never voted to proceed with that mitigation program, and we should have months ago. We never, as a council, discussed what were the options in that mitigation program study. I feel that if the mitigation plan is to dump water into McCook Lake again and again, then we should look at other alternatives. There are other options out there, and we should evaluate all of them before we make a decision. For flood planning, I would propose that the commission meet weekly until they have a plan developed and submit that to the voters. State law requires expenditures by municipal governments on private property to be voted on by the people. I think people want to vote and want to have a voice in how they repair our community.
Time. Thanks, Greg.
You're welcome.
Cody?
My name's Cody Benson. The reason I'm running for city commissioner is because I care deeply about our entire community, especially our residents that have been affected by the flood. My heart truly goes out to every family who lost their homes, their belongings, and so much more. That's why I proposed in the past using $1.5 million of TIF revenue from Union Crossing to assist flood victims and help them rebuild. When the floodwaters came, I wasn't watching from the sidelines. I was on the ground alongside our fire department, Stockwell engineers, Rusty, and numerous other volunteers working from early morning until late at night, building sandbags and doing everything possible to protect our city's infrastructure, homes, and jobs. While we couldn't stop all the damage, we gave it everything we had. Now recovery and prevention must remain our top priorities. We need short-term solutions like culverts underneath North Shore to divert floodwaters and a long-term plan to partnership with our neighboring communities at every level. Floodwaters don't recognize borders, and neither should our efforts. Recent changes at the federal level also mean cities like ours will bear more responsibility for disaster response. That's why I'm calling for a designated emergency command center and mandatory incident command system training for commissioners and department heads. We should also hold regular emergency exercises to ensure we're prepared. At the same time, we need smart growth. With a $7 million lift station and $13 million in undeveloped land, responsible development will generate the revenue that we need without raising taxes or driving our current residents out. Transparency and collaboration are essential. Disagreements happen, but wasting taxpayer dollars on petitions instead of working together is not the answer. Since the flood, we've made progress. We've restored infrastructure, built temporary roads, cleared the lift station ahead of schedule. I've contributed over 500 volunteered hours towards recovery myself, and we brought in FEMA-trained City Administrator Jeff Dooley to ensure our recovery plans meet the highest level of emergency management. But the work's not done. Flood victims and all residents deserve continued support. Let's move forward together, rebuilding stronger, preparing for the future, and ensuring North Sioux City remains a place.
Okay. Lynn?
Good evening, and thank you for attending tonight. It's great to see so many people among us. I am Lynn Hoffman, a candidate for the 4-year term commissioner. Along with my husband Chuck, our family has lived in North Sioux City since 1987. I am retired after more of 40 years working in our family construction company. During my career, I also worked in other accounting and bookkeeping settings, which have included financial planning. Throughout my years of service, I have served on various community boards and also have served on a national endowment board to develop and advance strategic financial plans. These experiences have instilled in me a strong commitment to transparency in our city's spending and revenues. I feel that all revenues of North Sioux City deserve clear insights and a voice on how our resources are managed. I will ensure that our city administration works together with the community to foster trust and understanding. I will remain dedicated to listening to your concern and advocating for your needs. Communication is key, and I will keep you informed about the decisions made by our city commissioners. Following the devastating flood in June of 2024, I was honored to be elected as president of the Union County Long-Term Recovery Group. This organization is dear to my heart and is committed to providing long-term support and recovery to the unions in all the residents in all of Union County, including those along McCook Lake. Lastly, I believe our city must continue to develop and enhance the amenities that.
Thank you, Lynn. Bob?
Thank you.
Bob Davis, I'm running for Commissioner, 3-year term.
Bob, could you get a little closer to the mic?
And if you notice, I have no notes. All I would like to say is we need to give this community back to the citizens. It looks to me like the developers, the engineers, the contractors, and the realtor developers have taken over. And that's sad. We spent evidently about $40 million on purchases of floodplain land on the other side of the dike. I do not believe that dike will ever get moved, and if it does, I think it'll harm McCook Lake more. And it's just sad with the flood. There was problems before the flood, but after the flood, we have 2 organizations that's put this on. But you know who took that to task? McCook Lake Ikes Club. They went full bore on making sure that they provided everything a person could possibly need, and they fed everybody and done all they could to do that. And that is commendable. This came in the mail. How many people got this in the mail today? Only a few? You might want to read it. A lot of the things in there is really good stuff, but how much of it could have been started and implemented right after the flood? That's my question. I mean, coming in after the fact,
Aye.
fine.
Time.
Thank you.
Bob. Julie?
Hi, excuse me. Hi, I'm Julie Burhoop, and I've lived in North Sioux City for almost 20 years now with my husband Craig. Our daughters Abigail and Bella attend Dakota Valley High School, and I'm an architect, and I also serve on the leadership team for my husband's business. I'm the VP of Communications for the McCook Lake Association, and I've also served on the North Sioux City Planning and Zoning Commission for the past couple of years. These experiences have given me a lot of just experiences and qualifications, such as dealing with public funds, working within budgets, knowing when it's time to spend a little bit more money up front and to save costs later on. I understand codes and ordinances, and I've worked with a variety of people, whether I like them or not, quite honestly, with different wants and needs to make sure we can have a great result for everyone involved, not just for the people paying for it, but for the general public as well. So I think these skill sets and abilities have given me just an opportunity to use my talents and abilities to serve the community better. We obviously need to help those most affected by last summer's flood. I support Chris's idea of the homeowner recovery fund, because not only does the road and infrastructure need to be rebuilt, we need to address planning issues such as rebuilding housing, long-term and short-term flood mitigation efforts, restoration of McCook Lake. I will fight for those who have lost so much and ensure that proper planning for the future of the entire city happens. It is time for our leaders and our community to level up, and I would be honored to use my skills and abilities to do that. I think I can do that respectfully as
Time.
well. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. And Jessica Strain.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm a wife to Darren, a mom to 4 girls, 3 of who are at USD Go Yotes. I'm a working class woman. Some of you might recognize me. I've been at CNOS for 17 years. I started there at the front desk and worked my way into management, and I currently manage a team of 28 people. Spending 17 years in this area for 40 hours a week kind of gave me a quick idea of how unique North Sioux City is. It's got that hometown pride, a lake, and big industry. You don't find that anywhere. In 2019, my husband Darren and I bought a home on Alcoma. We started remodeling ourselves. It's slow, but it's coming, and people walk by and see it and comment. It's been nice, but we're empty nesters. Looking for a way to give back to this community because there is some division and there's a lot of grieving and hurting people who feel like they're unheard. And I feel like that's going to be my strong place in this whole puzzle here. I love listening to people's ideas, networking, putting together plans, and acting on those plans. What I bring to the table is honesty, even when they're difficult conversations, humanity, because it doesn't matter where you live in North Sioux, all of you matter. We all do. Integrity, doing the right thing even when no one's watching, and communication, because you guys should be informed and involved. I can be kind of direct, but there's not a lot of fluff, no empty promises, no political nonsense, but no roadblocks. We need progress. There's a lot of grieving people who deserve resolution, and I look forward to being part of that team.
Time. Thank you very much. David Zuraf. Like giraffe, right?
Just like giraffe.
Got it.
Z. Thank you. Just tell me when it's time.
Oh, I'm sorry, your time. You get to go now.
All right. I'm Dan Nazareth, candidate for the
Okay.
2-year commissioner position. I'd like to work together and provide the foundation to build strong relationships between our residents, public safety, business growth, good government, public interests and policies, and achieve our goals for those who depend and trust us to shape our future. by merging our experiences and knowledge and watch them come into fruition. We'll work together the same way I worked with the state of Wisconsin, federal government, local government agencies to achieve these 6 major goals. Develop a multimodal transportation plan throughout our city and the state that we're in. Future sewer and water systems and issues that affect us in the future. Emergency management, public safety, foster economic development, and protect the environment, and develop a short and long-term flood mitigation plan for all residents. I have experience in complex information relevant to laws, rules, statutes, and regulations, investigative reports. As a compliance investigator, I monitored and audited large construction projects funded by state, local, and federal government agencies and took into action on deviations from construction design and funding issues, established policy. I incorporated our passion and knowledge and experience in problem resolution by commuting the issues, finding common ground, solving our problems through effective communication, gaining trust, and assembling and designing a formidable solution to our problems and achieve our goals by effectively reinforcing and displaying good communication, enabling others to understand the facts and issues, and allowing a collaborative view on progressive towards a positive solution. My dedication, trustworthiness, and loyalty can be found in my experience and responsibility working at the Wisconsin Power and Light Company in Wisconsin, Public Service Commissioner's Office, Commissioner of Railroads Office, the Wisconsin DOT. I've also worked with and worked on projects with the Wisconsin Governor's Office, Department of Justice, and Attorney General's Office and Emergency Management Services. I was responsible for case-sensitive material, information, and safeguards and confidential information on policies, rules, legislation, regulation, planning, changes in laws, and legal matters, and continue to maintain cooperative relationships with lawmakers, state, federal, local government, and public safety agencies around the United States.
Thank you, Daniel. Vincent D. Tucker.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Vince Tucker, and I'm running for the one-year term for city commissioner. My family and I have lived in McCook Lake since 2002, and I was hired as a history teacher and coach at Dakota Valley since 1997. My decision to run for city commissioner was largely attributed to the city council's response or lack of response to the flood that affected many people I knew. I started attending the council meetings following the flood and was outraged by the lack of transparency and communication of the city council, not only with the handling of the flood, but also with other major decisions that have impacted the community as a whole. As a result, I was a member of that group that petitioned the residents to change the city council from a form of government to a 5-person city commission last fall. If I'm elected to the one-year city commissioner term, I plan to make the residents of North Sioux City my priority. I believe that the residents should have a voice in all the decisions that are made by the city leadership. I believe that the city commissioners have the obligation to be transparent and to encourage communication between the commission and its citizens. Lastly, I believe that all residents' safety should be prioritized. I witnessed firsthand what happened when the decision was made to sacrifice some of the residents to benefit others. The same situation would have happened to anyone in the community. Let's not repeat history, shall we? I greatly appreciate the outpouring of support I've received so far and hope to get the opportunity to be elected as one of your representatives on April 8th. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was a record.
Usually I get 90 minutes,
What
so,
are you gonna do in your extra 30 seconds now? Okay.
so I had to speed it up a little bit.
Leftover time there.
You have to buy it from him.
Not fair. We got rules. Let's go.
We have David Welch running for one-year term. David.
Hi, my name is David Wilch. I'm running for the one-year term to serve as commissioner for North Sioux City. I decided to run for this position because I believe that North Sioux City deserves much better leadership and healthier leadership than what we've been receiving. We have a level of dysfunction in our city leadership right now that's truly damaging our city. We can't afford to operate under this dysfunction any longer. We desperately need healthy leadership that meets the needs of our community. We need a city council that's willing to take advisement from the people. We need to have council members that actively seek out the opinions on key decisions in our community and be willing to get advisement from our residents regularly. I believe every commissioner should have an advisory council underneath them in order to ensure that that's happening. This helps build accountability to the people. Our new council must take this opportunity of a complete reset of our governmental structure and use it as an opportunity to rebuild trust from our residents. The best way to build trust is to follow through on what you say you are going to do. And then we need a council that's going to be willing to advocate for our people. Our most hurting residents right now need financial relief. I fully support the plan that Chris laid out to address their financial needs as quickly as possible upon election. I cannot imagine the burden that those affected are experiencing, and doing so feeling like the leadership closest to them isn't even on their side. But financial relief will only go so far to truly help those families in need. They need to see city leadership that is alongside them, bearing the burden of their tragedy with them and carrying the load alongside them. That's not what our city is currently experiencing. It's my belief that anybody sitting up here tonight that's currently serving on the council needs to be able to explain why they haven't already done the things that they will be telling you tonight they're going to do. They've had 9 months, and there hasn't even been ideas of solutions brought to the table, and to me, that's inexcusable. I believe that we desperately need a reset of our leadership.
You got 2 seconds left. What do you want?
I'll donate it.
Very good. Okay. Next, we're going to have questions from our sponsors. First, we're going to start with the American Legion question from Commander Tim Waugh. Now, each of the candidates will have 1 minute to answer these questions, so obviously be brief about the whole thing. There's going to be 3 sponsors, and so after this, the American Legion, then there's the McCook Lake Association, and the Dakota Valley Business Council. We're starting with the first question from the American Legion. Since decisions made take a long time to implement, how do you envision North Sioux City growing and developing over the next 5 to 10 years? If you want anybody to repeat that question, just let me know. So we'll start with you, Chris.
I think we can be working on recovery while still planting the seeds for new development. The only way I see our city being able to pay for all of this damage and devastation is we have to grow. If we're not growing, all these new expenses are going to be shared by the same small number of taxpayers. So if we're going to try to keep our taxes in check, we need to allow new developments to occur. And the thing that we need most, in my opinion, is workforce housing. I honestly think we need to bring in more workforce housing, which generates sales tax revenue, generates new property taxes. I think we can be working on recovery and development at the same time, but recovery must take the priority.
Thank you, Chris. Greg?
As we move forward, we need to think about what the impact is of a mitigation study on the future growth and where the area of the community can grow. We must recognize that TIFs take away taxable valuation because it's given to the developer rather than to the expenses recreated by the additional growth. So it is actually a burden on us taxpayers who do not live in TIFs. I think that we have the ability to grow, and we certainly need to grow, and the way we grow is to feed our wastewater through the new lift station. That new lift station, you may hear, is strictly for Union Crossing, but it cannot be. It has to serve the entire community. We need to be cognizant about how we spend our money as a city. We need to think about the things we need versus the things we want, and we need to be proactive in working with our legislators. We have a strong group in the Congress right now, and we should be.
Cody, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Cody Benson.
So the way that I plan North Sioux City to continue to grow is both focusing on our recovery plans as well as promoting growth such as Union Crossing. So the TIF district does not take away taxpayer monies. The $10 million that is proposed in the TIF doesn't exist without growth. We need to continue to partner with our developers, contractors, and people that are looking for solutions in order for us to grow, to promote businesses so we can recruit new kids to our schools. I know the school is currently down 45 kids, which equates to about $330,000. The only way to replace that is through new communities, new families. We shouldn't continue to try to micromanage any continued growth that comes here. As long as they're following our ordinances, we shouldn't be trying to anticipate what would sell and what doesn't sell. That's the developer's job. Our goal is to bring new people here, new businesses, and new families so we can continue to thrive and generate our future communities.
Thank you, Cody. Lynn?
Okay. As a wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, I have a little different slant as to the growth of North Sioux City. I have watched since 1987 the growth of the industrial park, our business park. It's done a wonderful job, and I'm sure it's going to continue to do many great things with the Economic Development Group. I myself am looking for the amenities that will help the residents and their families to have this be the best place they want to live. Not only a place to live that somebody gives you great sales tax, which we have, but sometime that we can spend the amenity monies on our residents.
Thank you very much, Lynn. And Bob Davis.
We need to, in my opinion, take care of the residents. Everybody talks about TIFs, but to me, a short version of a TIF is every structure that's built in a TIF is taxed. And that tax is collected by the county, it passes through North Sioux City, goes back to the developer to pay off the loan that they borrowed to put the infrastructure in. The only monies that we will get until the TIF is paid off is what that land was valued at before they developed it. And then there is this carrot out there of $1.5 million. But if you look real close at the wording, it says up to $1.5 million. If that is needed for something other than what's necessary with the TIF people and the developer, I really wonder.
Thank you, Bob Davis. And Julie Burhoop.
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question is, some decisions take a long time to implement. How do you envision North Sioux City growing and developing over the next 5 or 10 years?
Well, I think that's a great place to start, and I think, obviously we need to work on our recovery efforts. And as a background as an architect, I did a lot of school buildings and dealt with a lot of bond issues. And when you spend money on infrastructure like roads and schools and utility improvements, that generates other things in the community that are positive. Now you have construction workers that they need their hair cut. Well, let's go support a local business and get their hair cut. Then the person who cuts their hair, they go out and buy a cup of coffee. It has a ripple effect across our community that is can be really, really powerful. Let's invest in our infrastructure and help our community grow. And it's kind of like, as a parent, you have multiple kids sometimes, and one needs one thing and one needs another thing. Just because you have one project over here doesn't mean the other thing has to be forgotten about.
Thank you, Julie. And Jessica Joe Strain.
I do think that council people need to be able to work on more than one agenda item at a time. Mothers tend to be great multitaskers. Speaking of recovery and growth happening at the same time, that is totally capable. I would love our 4 girls to have the opportunity to work and live in North Sioux City so that I can see my grandkids grow. Right now, there are not enough roofs in North Sioux City for that to happen. There's a lot of people that are against growth, but it's those transplants that bring students into the classrooms and keep our businesses moving.
Okay.
I'm good.
Oh, you're really good. There's no question about you being good. Okay, well, next one, Daniel Zuroff. Giraffe like giraffe.
Just like giraffe with a Z.
With a Z. Got it.
Sir.
Jeez.
Okay, so some decisions do take a long time to implement because there are many factors involved when making decisions. And your decisions are made not immediately or not made by others. They're made by facts and figures and what it takes to get to that point. And that includes in your infrastructure should be developed prior to, before, and approved before new development in the area. Before you go ahead and start making plans, make sure your infrastructure will support it. Make sure our community is a great place to live and work and grow as every place around us, if not even better. We can't do anything without our neighbors. That means that we live in a tunnel here. We have the river next to us when we have Sioux City, and we have nothing to the west of us except where our boundaries, and our boundaries are limited. So we have to work with everyone else around us. We do have people that are experienced, and I'm sure we'll hear more coming up. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Vince Tucker.
So I totally agree. I think we need to grow as well. I think we need to do it residentially as well as more businesses and stuff coming in. But I think we need to do it correctly. I don't think we need to jump into this stuff, and I think we need to follow the ordinances and stuff that we have going on. I think it's totally an important factor. I also think, though, that we probably need to help the people that are here before we start helping people who aren't here. I think it's really important that we get ourselves back under our feet and get our balance back. And I think we need to start moving ahead. I totally agree. I think we need to come up with new ways to get people here. I just want to do it correctly, and I want to make sure that we do it right. But we need to make sure that we protect the people that are here and have been here for a really long time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. And Vince Tucker.
I just went.
You just went? What the hell?
If you want me to go again, I can.
Oh, no wonder it was so fast. Okay, David Will. What day is this?
Yeah, I think if we're talking implementation, the most important thing is to get ideas out on the table and in the open forum as quickly as possible. I think once we can do that, we can then mold and shape those ideas to what's going to be able to best serve our entire community. But we can't do that by holding those back and not allowing them to be discussed openly. One of my favorite things about this new form of government is that it's going to allow us to be way more multiple than it seems like we've been prior. By that I mean we can have someone kind of carrying the load for public works very well while we have somebody else carrying the load for utilities or public safety, and it gives us the opportunity for people to really hone in on their area that they are the chief of and in responsibility of, so that we might be able to serve multiple issues simultaneously, because if it's not the current problems we have, it will be new ones, and we have to be able to address more than one thing at a time.
Thank you, David. Now we have the second question from the Cook Lake Association. What improvements or investments in infrastructure, such as roads, water systems, and et cetera, do you believe are the most critical for North Sioux City's continued growth, and how do you propose we pay for it? Chris, you're up first.
All right. Well, the most important is the short-term mitigation plan. The culverts and paths for the water to get through North Shore without destroying property. That has to be first and foremost. I also think we need to do a better job of creating some kind of funding source to help maintain the lake itself. But other infrastructure projects, we've already invested a lot of money in other infrastructure. I know $7 million down near Union Crossing to serve a big part of the city. And another point with that is that money's already been spent. If we don't have growth, there's no way to recoup that, and we're all going to pay for it. Sioux Laundry Lift Station. I mentioned some of those that I think we could reprioritize in the short term to raise funds to help with the recovery. But I think that short-term mitigation plan is number one and has to be top priority.
Thanks, Chris. Greg Meyer.
I think certainly the mitigation plan would be one of my top priorities, but I think we need to look at more options. Just directing piping under the road is not going to be adequate. When you look at the pictures of the flood that occurred this summer, vast areas were covered with water, and that water is not going to flow through 2 or 3 6-foot diameter pipes without damage. We need to think in terms of what is the cost-benefit ratio of doing that and the damage to the lake versus a bypass channel or increasing the capacity of the existing levee system through North Sioux City. When you think about it, if we're restricting the flow through the existing channel with moving existing dikes, we're just going to take water across the interstate that more often and into McCook Lake that more often. So in terms of other infrastructure, I think we are in pretty good shape with other infrastructure. Certainly these mitigation plans will affect.
Thanks, Greg. Cody Benson, same question.
So I think we need to partner with our surrounding communities, including the state, local, and federal levels, to look for grants for a short-term and long-term mitigation plan. As far as infrastructure, I'll give you an example of something that we've worked on in the past 3 years, which is we needed a new water tower. So we partnered with Dakota Dunes to build a redundancy plan, so we didn't have to pay for a water tower. That benefited both communities, both Dunes and North Sioux City, which cuts that cost in half. The other thing that we need is, in order to build roads, if you have a TIF district, that falls on the contractor. If they don't develop like they should, that risk falls on the contractor, not our current citizens. A TIF district is a way for us to get new homes, new housing, and have the contractor put in the roads, water, and sewage at their risk. And those are the types of partnerships we need to continue to build our infrastructure and build it up.
Thank you very much, Cody. Lynn, do you want
I'll
me to?
take the question again.
I was going to repeat it just for you. For the audience reasons, what improvements or investments in infrastructure such as roads and water systems do you believe are the most critical for North Sioux City's continued growth, and how do you propose we pay for it?
Okay. I'm going to go to the last part of the question. If I become a commissioner for that 4 terms, my main job will be to be looking at the finances of this city, to be watching over how do we get additional money into the city, maybe something other than what we've had provided to us in the past. I have not seen probably enough grants that we could get for mitigation roadway projects. I know that there's a lot of talk of things that can happen outside of the county that are outside of our city infrastructure that might help with the mitigation, but that's a long term, and that is long term.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lynn. Appreciate it. Bob?
Yeah, infrastructure, Military Road, the old part of Military Road has been proposed for several years evidently, and it keeps getting put back and put back and put back for other projects. And as far as mitigation, anybody who drives to Sioux Falls, when you take 229 and go around between Louise and Western, there is a huge bypass channel there. We need one upstream someplace, rather than, if you're gonna run water through the lake, nobody can control where that water's gonna go once it goes over them tracks, so we don't need to go through this over and over, hopefully. That's all I got.
Thanks a lot, Bob. I appreciate it. Julie Burhoop?
I think for starters, we need to work on that short-term mitigation plan, but we can't just do it, oh, we think we should do this, or, oh, I think it would be nice if we do that. We actually have to have the hydrology studies to figure out and make educated decisions on what we need to do there. I think we need to reset our connections with a lot of the government agencies, the governor's office, FEMA, the Army Corps of Engineers. I think we need to work with those agencies to help us fund these things. They've kind of forgotten about us in many respects. They didn't touch the flood plan since the 1970s. And it's time that they step up and allocate some funds to help us out with that. And I think we can do so and create some win-win relationships and create some amenities like public parks. If FEMA funds are used and we can't build on that ground again, it'd be a great spot for green space to have public access to fish from the shores of McCook Lake.
Time.
Thank you, Julie. Jessica Strain?
As far as infrastructure improvements, I think that it only makes sense for them to be in coordination with the mitigation plan, North Shore reconstruction, lake restoration. All of that rebuilding goes hand in hand. So the money comes from Chris's plan. The money comes from FEMA and HUD and property taxes and sales tax revenue. There is a way out of this, and there is a way to develop the city to make it more modernized without it being so scary to all of us. We just haven't had someone unveil that way out. So it's doable.
Thank you, Jessica, for 15 minutes early. Appreciate that. Okay. Danielle Zaraf.
You asked in our improvements and infrastructure and how to pay for them. We have to look at the long and short-term mitigation plan again and not look at it and then let it go by the wayside and pick it back up 5, 6, 7 years later when we have another flood. We need to do it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and almost 50 years ago. The plan started in 1979 and sat idle and went to sleep. We can't allow that to happen again. That will never happen again after these meetings that we're having today. And in order to fund these in order to fund this, we need to use shared growth and investment, perfect for our communities. That's what provides us with future families, and it's not just for us, it's for all of our neighbors, including the ones that move here with their young families. But we also need to look at our long-term, short-term mitigation with the flooding, especially with the Lake McCook residents, and feel their pain and what they've gone through. And for those of us and all of us that have ever had to go through this, we understand what it is, and we're there with you.
Thank you, Daniel. Vince Tucker.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think we need to make sure that the flood thing never happens again, and if it does, we are totally prepared. Personally, I feel running the water into the lake is like Plan D. I think we need to come up with better ways to get rid of the water than running it into the lake. I think we need to come up with a better plan to make it go around and go in somewhere so it's not going in the lake. I think putting people at risk like that is not the way we should be doing it. The money, as far as the money and how we're going to pay for it, I think that's where we need to be creative. I think we need to get a hold of some of the state agencies and federal agencies and see what's out there and see what we come up with. I don't think we spend any time actually trying to figure out ways to go around get away from the lake, send it into the lake. That's all I had to say.
That's plenty. Thank you, Vince. God, I'm terrible. David Welch.
Yeah, I would say, like Vince just brought up, that would be Plan D. My question would be, what would be Plan A, B, and C in that scenario? The most likely option that we do have is to divert water to McCook Lake, but it needs to be able to be done in a way that's controlled in, but also controlled out. That way that can't raise like we saw it do to destroy some basements. There's a way to do that. Greg brought up the idea that you're not going to do that with just one 6-foot culvert, and I completely agree with you, Greg. But creativity would tell us that maybe there's a way that we could identify 3 or even 4 spots where we can have culverts going underneath to be able to absorb more water to send that into the lake, and again, having that controlled out. I think a bypass channel sounds like a great idea for long-term mitigation, but the necessary avenues that you have to go through with all of the agencies involved in order to divert that water through a bypass channel are not going to be completed quickly. I'd also say I think that we have a great opportunity to bury unsightly power lines and get those underground like so many other communities are able to do with the situation that we have right now.
Thank you, David. Now, the third question from the sponsors is from Dakota Valley Business Council. Due to the housing shortage and in spite of their desire to live in North Sioux City, the vast majority of our community's employees live outside of this community. How would you correct this problem so that we can capitalize on the tax revenue new residents would bring? We'll start with you, Chris.
The only answer is TIF. If you saw Campbell Street, Harvest Bend, that's how it was built. The answer is TIF. That's how you pay for the infrastructure. I would probably agree with Greg. If Lakeshore Estates came up for a vote today, I would vote against it. It's a local TIF. It doesn't keep the school whole. You know what, though? The governor came up with a new kind of TIF called Affordable Housing TIF, and they keep the school whole. It's a great tool used by many, many communities all over the state of South Dakota. There's 33 right now that I know of. That's how you grow. And none of us have to pay for it. It's all just self-generated. Property tax revenue goes back into the street, sewer, and water. That's how you grow. And in fact, Lance Hedquist just said they have 13 TIFs in South Sioux City, and not once have they had anyone criticize them.
Thank you, Chris. Greg Meyer?
Would you repeat the question again?
The question is, due to the housing shortage and in spite of their desire to live in North Sioux City, the vast majority of our community's employees live outside of this community. How would you correct this problem so that we can capitalize on the tax revenue new residents would bring?
Well, I think the concept of providing housing to all of the workers in the community is maybe something that may not be affordable. After all, there are a lot of people who work in Sioux City that live in North Sioux City, and they commute also. So commuting is probably a fact of life. I think we just need to work out the economics of it. I do think that other communities, like El Point, has a subdivision going, no TIFs involved. So it is possible to have housing without TIFs. Certainly, Wildflower is a good example of some affordable housing in its production, but you know, that was only like a $500,000 TIF. That wasn't a $10 million TIF. So there is opportunity to provide housing if that's the goal of the community, but certainly the community should be consulted about how they want to move forward before we take the steps to do that.
Thank you, Greg. Cody Benson.
Yep. So housing without TIFs means the city is footing the bill for roads, sewage, things like that. So I agree with Chris in this. The answer is TIF districts. Today, 97% of our residents do not live and work in North Sioux City, and that's because of the lack of housing. Our average housing cost right now in North Sioux City is $600,000. With Union Crossing, that brings that house, or that average cost of a house, to $250 to $385 tops, and that's because of not only a TIF, but a $2.4 million grant from the state, which means the state supports the project as well. The other things that we need to continue to recruit on is when you live and work in the state of South Dakota, there's no state income tax. We have a huge tax advantage for people to come and live in North Sioux City and take them from Iowa and Nebraska, and it's easy game, but we need the housing in order to do it. We currently have 3 active TIF districts in North Sioux City, and there's no issues whatsoever. We also need to continue to build apartment complexes to recruit people to work at our businesses, because that's what's going to make this city thrive.
Thanks, Cody. Lynn, do you want me to repeat the question?
No.
Okay.
I think TIF is the number one issue. I think that it's somewhat been decided that we will have a $10 million TIF. And so we will be looking at adding to the housing in North Sioux City. And we also are looking from the council at another housing project that is going to be apartments with some condominiums that is going to be built by the Lloyd Company, and they are not looking for a TIF. Right. So we have possibilities of both sides of the fence to gain housing in North Sioux City.
Okay, well, thank you, Lynn, appreciate that. Bob Davis.
Yeah, there's a side of this whole thing that I don't think anybody other than myself ever asked up at the county, and that is everybody gets a tax bill. Do you see that opt-out behind there? I asked some questions on that. The school district has a $600,000 per year opt-out with no sunset. It's forever. The fire district and the emergency district has 2 $500,000 per year opt-outs, that one sunsets in 28 and one in 30. And that tells me that we're short a tax base. And a TIF is going to not add to our tax base immediately. That's all I got.
Thank you very much, Bob. Julie Burhoop.
Could you repeat the question?
I would love to repeat the question for you, Julie. Due to housing shortage, and in spite of their desire to live in North Sioux City, the vast majority of our community's employees live outside of this community. How would you correct this problem so that we can capitalize on the tax revenue new residents would bring?
You know, I've been a planning and zoning member for a while now, and one of the first things that was brought to that commission when I started a couple of years ago was Union Crossing. And, you know, they identified all these needs for housing, and it's a great answer for that. You know, and prices have changed between inflation and everything like that. You just can't build stuff for the prices that you could years ago. So that's why the TIF and the workforce housing TIF especially from the governors, you know, they're basically subsidizing it for us to be able to do this. And I think it's a great development. It's so beneficial if people can work and live in South Dakota. It's a huge asset to anybody. It's a 7% raise right there. And without having something like a TIF, they just can't simply afford to build a $600,000 house.
Thank you very much, Julie. Jessica Joe Strain.
I'm gonna have another short answer. Why did I move here? Because I work here. It's a benefit to employers and employees to be in South Dakota. We aren't gonna be able to accomplish that without a TIF.
Wow. I like that. Okay. And then Daniel Zaref.
Thank you very much. Due to the housing shortage in Sioux City, it's our problem to take on the shortage and pass it over to North Sioux City. Although I don't know if I really believe that, but what I want to believe is that we're providing an additional source to provide people that need housing, that want to live in North Sioux City, and give them an alternative solution to how they want to make their lives better. And maybe they want to live in Sioux City, that's fine. But the ones that want to live in North Sioux City, let's make sure that they are guaranteed they're coming here. And that also includes making sure that their already applications are in file and before we start trying to build things and not put the cart before the horse.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Vince Tucker.
So I kind of agree with everybody here. I think we have an incredibly desirable place for people to move to. I think we have a lot of really cool things going on here. I think a lot of people want to move in here. I think the problem that we have, and we've talked about the TIF a lot, and some of my many adventures talking to some of the people out there, there's a lot of people, I think that if we asked the people what they want to do, I think a lot of people wanted to vote on the TIF. I think a lot of people wanted to vote on Union Crossing, and that was taken out of their hands. And I think that's the problem that we have is I think we have places for people to build homes. I see them sitting empty all the time. There's houses around here that people, there's empty businesses. There's a lot of stuff. And I think that we need to start asking people and getting people on board. I think the community would do better if everybody was involved in some of the decisions going on.
Thank you, Vince. David Welch.
Yeah, I think it's really important to remember that the development of areas does cost money, and generally developing those areas gets passed on by lot price. One of the awesome opportunities that having a TIF district allows us is to be able to keep lot prices affordable. I think it's really hard to build an affordable home on an inaffordable lot. And so we need to be able to make sure that we are having some level of subsidization so that we can keep lot prices low, that people are able to afford them so that they can take advantage of living in South Dakota like we've all talked about here. I think it's also really important to remember, Bob brings up that we're short of tax base. We can't grow our tax base if we never start developing more areas to build homes. Our tax base will always be low if we don't start sometime, and it's high time that we start.
Okay, thank you very much. It's now time for questions from the audience. And we have to finish it at 8:18, so there is time for the final comments from all the candidates. Each one of you will be allowed 15 seconds to ask a question. No commentary will be allowed. Participants are asked to line up in the aisle, if there's a lot of people. When asking the question, please approach the podium and speak into the mic. Direct the question to just one candidate of your choice. The candidate will have 1 minute to respond. Who wants to be first? If you're not, I'm going to ask the questions. You don't want that. Finally, a volunteer in the audience. He's moving forward. Great. And announce your name and your question.
My name is Jason John. I've lived here for 20 years, since 2005. I teach at Dakota Valley High School. My question is for Bob and for Greg. You guys are anti this TIF discussion. What's your alternative? I've lived here for 20 years, and there has never been affordable housing.
Thank you.
Well, I'll go first. My alternative is to let the developers develop their projects without contributions from the city taxpayers unless the taxpayers vote to support that project. You know, presently, the city administrator, Al Point, tells me the new lots that are being developed adjacent to the golf course up there are gonna sell for $45,000 to $55,000 a lot. This TIF will contribute over $73,000 per unit in Union Crossing. We need to be, this is the largest TIF that North Sioux City has ever experienced. We're also, for the first time this year, we're having apartments come into TIF districts. The idea that we're gonna have the school district made whole is, I believe, inaccurate. The state aid is allowed to move forward with the kids that are in the TIF, but the rest of the expense of the school district is not covered.
Time.
Thank you, Greg. Did he ask that to both people?
Yeah.
Chris, did you want to respond to that?
He didn't ask
That
me.
was Bob.
Who else was it for?
To Bob.
Who's running this thing? Bob. There you go, Bob. All yours.
TIFs. You know, we hear all this good stuff about TIFs, but the bottom line is, and we're talking about tax base, none of that goes to the base until the TIF's paid off. So we're going to be short of tax base until the TIF's paid off, right? You're shaking your head like that.
For a very short
Well,
period
anyway,
of time, yes.
What do we do in the meantime?
That's what I asked you.
What do we do in the meantime? Tax us for it, I guess. You know, I got one to bring up quick. I've done a little research. The commercial properties in all of Union County has not been reassessed since 1992, except for newer structures and older structures that's had building permits. And with that situation,
Time.
there's gonna be thousands.
I totally agree with you, Bob.
Yeah, but
Anyhow,
number
is
two.
there another volunteer for questions? Come on, I thought it'd be lined up like 10 deep here. Here comes somebody from the back. Here comes another lady. Whoever gets her first wins. Got 3. There you go. State your name, your purpose, and you have 15 seconds for a question.
Okay. My name is Megan Palacios. I've lived here all my life. I also work in North Sioux City. I would just ask the people that are for the TIF, because you guys keep speaking about workforce or work housing, do you know what the average employee in North Sioux City makes at let's just call it Sterling or RTI?
Time.
Can you pick one person? I don't want everybody.
I'll go with Chris, since you're running for mayor.
Okay. I don't know what the average wages are, but I can assure you that if there were 2 employees at Sterling that were married, they could afford a house there in Union Crossing.
Can I give you an example? I looked on Glassdoor because that's available to all citizens, and everybody around the country can look at any employment. $42,000 per person is the average income in North Sioux City. So
Okay.
think about that for 350.
Yeah, I've been told that a $80,000 household income could buy a $250,000 to $300,000 house.
I know, I don't want that. No, I appreciate the audience and everything else like that, but we can't accept any comments from the audience. We have very little time. Greg, do you want any comment on this question? Go ahead.
Well, I don't have any idea what the average salary is in North Sioux City, other than what Megan indicated. I do think, though, that the ability to pay $300,000 to $385,000 for a home is not necessarily correctly labeled as workforce. I think that'll be upper management and a limited number of people that are working in these businesses. When you think about workforce and you think about the people that are working on the lines and the various factories in this community, I don't see that we're gonna help that group, income group at all. And I don't think that statistically will help the numbers that are being thrown out about how many people have to travel here to work here, because most of the people aren't gonna be able to afford those houses.
Okay, thank you, Greg. You're up next.
Jolene Jakes, I've been before the city council many times and planning. All these people, all these things are being built. Tell me how you're gonna solve the traffic on Sidetrack Drive.
Pick one.
Chris.
Traffic on Sadrack Drive, are you talking about Sadrack and River, the intersection?
I live on Sod Drive.
Oh, yeah, that to me was a very poor design by the city. That was a very poor design.
Thank you.
Duplexes should have never been allowed on a thoroughfare.
Thank you. And we weren't told it was going to be a thoroughfare. We were told that it was going to be a quiet little town where we lived, and it was not going to be a main thoroughfare.
I don't know, who was the city engineer when that was designed? I don't know.
That was
I didn't have
nice.
any contact with him. I just want to know how you guys are going to solve it.
Dirk, may I respond?
Lynn, you can respond.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would like to respond because if you look at the 2017 to 2025 comprehensive plan, there was not one of those 7 units that was built on South Sadrack Drive that was to be there. That was to be a commercial site. It couldn't or wasn't developed, so the city allowed then for homes to be built there, and that was a very poor choice.
Okay, thank you for that.
Can I
insight.
respond to that question, being my name was brought up in the answer?
It was very derogatory. And
I thought so, yeah.
You have 30 seconds to respond to that.
Lynn is absolutely right. That area where Joe lives was originally in a TIF, and it was, the TIF was sold under the concept that it would be highway commercial and there would be sales tax generated. The developer came to the city and asked to have it rezoned to multifamily. You see the street in front of Hampton Inn is wider. It's because it was known that that was going to be a major arterial connection to Dakota Dunes, and so the concept of changing that to residential was a very bad decision on the part of the council and the planning and zoning. I think that we should also note that the same thing has happened in Chris's Lakeshore Development TIF district, where now apartments are being moved into the area across the street from the fire station. That was also designated as highway commercial, so it should be a sales tax generating facility, and now it will be a apartment complex.
Thank you for that
Do you
insight.
mind if I take it? Nobody ever answered her question. Could I take a stab at it?
Which question was that?
The question about how to actually control the flow of traffic.
How to control?
What, can I try real quick?
You can try all you want.
Thanks, Dirk. I appreciate it. I think that intersection over there at River and Sadrack, I don't know how that's not a four-way stop currently. I completely agree with that thought. That traffic comes through there so quickly. People that aren't used to driving over there are very, very susceptible to not understanding that. Also, I've talked to some residents over there, and they have a great idea to get a four-way stop on the other end of Sadrack that would also be able to help control some of that traffic that will be growing as we develop the land to the south there. I think that will also buy us time to be able to get to a point where eventually we could get a traffic light there, should studies say that we need to. And because they're wider, we would also be able to get some good medians in there as well to help control traffic flow as well. That's all I needed, Dirk.
Thank you for that answer. I appreciate it. Now, the young girl from West Des Moines.
I'm a poser.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
This is a question for Jessica. So my name's Shannon. I'm a young person who's probably going to be leaving the area within the year. So my question is, the state that lost the most college-educated residents in 2023 was South Dakota. I know you said you had kids going to the university. It saw more than 72% people with a college degree leave versus move in. What exactly do you envision taking place in Union Crossing to encourage educated people to stay and move into our area?
I think that putting more households in this area is going to encourage other businesses to also come to the area, so that my children who graduate with degrees can get jobs at businesses. Even the ones who didn't graduate with degrees can get jobs at businesses that are local. I can watch my grandkids grow. But my 4 daughters, one of them lives in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. The other 3 have already talked about transplanting to Wisconsin, Des Moines, and Omaha. So we're gonna be gone like every weekend if we don't do something to resolve this. But I totally understand the problem that you're facing right now, and that's why it's so important that while we need to work on the lakeside residents, getting them back to good, we also need to be able to handle other agenda items like the TIF district.
Am I able to throw in one more question?
You can you speak into the microphone?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I kind of talk quiet.
Because, by the way, this whole thing is being streamed.
Yes.
It's being watched by over 10 million people.
I guess my other question, I don't know if it's possible to kind of direct it out here. What kind of businesses are supposed to be in Union Crossing? Like, are we getting a McDonald's versus like an extension of a CNOS? You know, like what's kind of encouraging these higher education people to turn back to our state and invest back into our state?
Who are you asking?
That's why I'm kind of like the
Yeah.
mayor. I haven't heard like the,
Pick one of these lovely people.
yeah, I guess I'd like to hear from Chris or Greg.
Oh, not him.
Yeah, like either or. I haven't heard exactly what type of businesses are supposed to be in this location.
I can't tell you exactly what, but I could tell you it's probably going to be similar to what you see from River Drive down to the apartments. Something similar, probably. It will be companies that want to serve both Dakota Dunes and North Sioux City with the interstate frontage. So it's going to be businesses that want to be able to serve both of those communities, but I couldn't tell you exactly what.
Okay.
And I'd also like to apologize. I shouldn't have thrown Greg under the bus on the what road is that? Sodrak. The city engineer doesn't make those decisions. The city council does. That was not Greg.
Okay. Very good. Chris, now Greg,
Thank
do you want to
you.
respond to his underhanded comment? His apology? You accept his apology?
I think I would, my understanding in terms of the businesses that might be coming with Union Crossing is there'll be, I can't remember if it's 6 or 7 storefronts, I think was listed as coming with the development. Otherwise, it's housing and those storefronts. So it'll be more of a commercial enterprise as I understand it, but certainly the developer would be a better resource than I am about that.
Okay. Is there any other victims, I mean, people that would like to ask a question? Here we go. I'm a mom. I like her.
I'm Anna Falk, and my question is for Chris.
Oh, no.
You're all for the housing and everything,
Yeah.
but what are you going to do to replace the dirt along North Shore and Penrose so that the people that want to build their houses can build their house? And like for me, I want to build my garage back, and you're talking about less taxes. Well, the taxes are way lower now because there's nothing there for taxes to be paid on.
Time.
Thank you.
Yeah, the short-term mitigation plan, once that is established, and once they have the plans done for these culverts and to get the water through North Shore, I think then they'll be able to fill those spots, but they can't fill those yet until they have that short-term mitigation plan done. And I've seen your house, I've been to your house, and it's unbelievable. And I'm so sorry that you have to
Okay, thank you.
live like
Is
that.
there anybody else who wants to respond to that question? Okay, being none, go ahead, buddy.
Hi, I'm Denny Haig.
Speaking to the mic, Denny.
Yep, I'm Denny Haig. I've lived here for 34 years. My question is for Mr. Bogenreef and several of the people that are involved with development here on the council. So the question is one, do you or your company that you work with, do you receive money directly or indirectly from any of the existing TIFs? And if so, don't you believe that to be a direct conflict of interest? And then secondly, is if there was a split council and four of the commissioners, two saying that they wanted to do this and two saying they would like to do that, and you have the split vote, right? You make the decision.
Hey, you got 15 seconds.
Yes,
We're
I'm sorry.
Elaborating.
How would you do that without having that direct conflict of interest?
Oh, sure. So, yeah, the one TIF I'm involved in North Sioux is the Lakeshore Estates, and that was done years ago. I would, yeah, if I ever face that again, I would definitely abstain if I was involved in a project, but I don't have plans to do anymore. That project got delayed by the city for about 2 to 3 years and slowed the project down so much that I wouldn't take that risk again.
But with being mayor, you really couldn't abstain with it being a 2-2 vote.
The TIF has been established years ago. That's already done. It's done. Oh, if I did a new TIF. Oh, the Union Crossing TIF. I'm not involved in Union Crossing. Any TIF. Oh, yeah, I would vote on it. On a TIF, if I'm not involved. But if I'm involved, I would definitely abstain.
Okay. Thank you for that question.
And I would make it clear why I'm abstaining too, because in the past, council members will abstain and they will not say why.
Okay.
I
fine.
would say why.
Thanks, Chris. Joni?
There were several. I'm Joni Christensen. I'm on the outgoing council. This question is for Greg. There were several times I asked you through the years before you got on to run for council, thinking you would have so much knowledge of the city and you would make a great council member. And when you finally did get on the council, you did not share things with us on, things that you were going to be doing. I'd like to know how you plan to work with the other commissioners and the city staff to develop ideas and policies.
By not sharing with you, I assume you're talking about the fact that I was circulating petitions. Is that what you're referring to?
But my question is, I would like to know how you're going to work with the other commissioners and the city staff in the future
Well,
to develop your ideas and policies.
I think we should have open communication with discussion at the council or commission level. The problem we've had as a city council is we didn't have those discussions. A lot of those decisions were made and set in stone before the council even opened the meeting up. So there was a lot of 5-3, 6-2 votes that went on.
You know what? Every single council meeting was open.
Well, I understand it was open, but I think that the fact that we didn't have much for discussion led to the necessity to have a petition.
You went about holding a meeting at the Ike's Club and having these things and never brought any of it up at the council. I just thought that was weird. I hope that doesn't happen now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joni. Oh, here we go.
How you doing? Some of you people may know me, some of you may not. Other than Rich, I'm the longest tenured employee the city of North Sioux has. So this question is directed to everybody, but mainly the 5 that win. Good luck.
First, what's your name?
Rusty Montang.
It's still Rusty, okay.
Today, so far. So I've worked here a long time. I lived here my entire life. My question is more directed, not so much for the fan or the people in the stands, is the employees. We've been used to an alderman form of government since the day I started working here. I want to know with the 5 of you how that's going to work as commissioner style and make sure the 27 employees and the 102 people that are affected by working here, if the environment's good and ever valued and appreciated. So I was hoping the 5 of you, whoever it is that wins, how we can maintain that.
Rusty, you got to pick one.
Got to pick one?
Yeah, sorry.
David, I'd like to hear from you.
All right, come on.
Thanks, Rusty. I think we have an incredible city staff. I think that they worked very, very hard. I think they were put in a really difficult position last summer by not having a city administrator in place to be able to help guide things like having better communication to the city, which certainly needs to happen. But we are so blessed with some incredible people that are able to do their job at an incredibly high level. We're so lucky to have Jeff Dooley here, who has experienced rebuilding after a flood previously. He has great leadership, guidance. I watch you, Rusty. I know that you and I have talked about this idea that you were on the ground for 45 days in a row, morning to night, busting your tail to get stuff done. We need a commission that's going to truly value our employees and make sure that they understand that they can be safe in the environment that they're working, that they're not under constant scrutiny and trying to play gotcha with them. We need to support them and allow them to be great at what they do, and that's what I've been able to do in my professional life as well. Yes, sir.
Is there anybody else who would like? Bob, you're up.
Yes, I'd like to respond to Rusty.
Go ahead.
And I'd like to compliment him. He was there at the special meeting we had prior to the flood. And he had all the information, and he was adamant about what we needed to do. That's all I got.
Good enough. Is there any other questions from the audience? I see some movement back there. It looks like he's coming to the front.
Hi, Paul Koskovich. I've been working with Andrew Nilgis on a lot there in Flynn Business Park. I have a company in Sioux City that has 24 full-time employees. This question's for Daniel and Vincent here. I just checked Realtor.com. There's 2 homes available for sale that are below $400,000. What do I tell my employees that want to live where we work?
You're asking me or?
Yourself and Daniel, yes.
So I think that's the thing. I'm kind of in the same boat. I have a couple kids too, and they're both working. And if we're talking like what's going to happen at Union Crossing is going to be the homes are going to be $300,000 and some thousand. I don't consider that affordable workforce housing. I think that we need to get it much lower than that, and we need to make it more available for that. We appreciate the people coming in to actually come in and work at these things, and in order to have the housing, I'm not against the housing. I just think we need to do it right. I think we need to let the people vote on this and let the people of the community decide. They're the ones that are going to be kind of footing the bill for some of this stuff. So I think that we need to get the people way more involved and have way better communication than what we've been having.
Are you still answering my question? What am I supposed to tell my employees?
Hey, no talking from the audience. I'm sorry that we're running out of time for that. We're going to go to the closing argument, closing statements. There'll be 1 minute per candidate. We're starting with Chris Bogenreef.
All right. So I have become deeply concerned that the other slate of candidates are attempting to prevent growth. If a city isn't growing, it's dying. Our population became stagnant in 2020. Our school enrollment started declining in 24. We lost 65 students this year. Our city's facing major expenses, including flood restoration, the $7 million expansion of water and sewer system, partially for Union Crossing, expansion of our industrial park, inflation. If we can't grow our city, our property taxes are going to rise, and these major expenses are going to be shared by the same small number of taxpayers. I'm looking forward to serving the residents in North Sioux, and I hope to gain your support.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. Greg Meyer.
I did not get a chance to mention in my opening remarks that I'm not presently employed. I'm retired, and I do not have any special interests or any reason, any financial gain from being the mayor. I'm just hoping to pay back the community for my time here with the community. I think I'm going to jump around with a few topics. I think in terms of Joe's question about traffic, there should be a traffic study now. We have 116 apartments going in across from the fire station, 160 apartments potentially with the Union Crossing, plus 116 houses or 226, depending on what version of the plan you're looking at. In terms of financing our needs for our repair to North Shore and Penrose, I think we need to talk to our congressional delegation. We have people in high places in Congress, and we were able to get us over a $17 million allocation for West Shore. We should get some more.
Thanks, Greg Meyer. Cody Benson.
I think we need to continue to focus on building a stronger future for North Sioux City, and we need actionable results. So the future of North Sioux City is built on collaboration and determination. I've reached out to RP Construction for help on dirt, and they've agreed. I'm proud to announce that with the help of RP Construction, the Dakota Valley Emergency Services District Board, Jim Christensen, Rusty, Jeff Dooley, and many others who are committed to our community's progress, we have dirt being delivered to Penrose. In the coming weeks, we'll begin delivering over 60 side dumps of donated dirt to Penrose, allowing residents to fill their properties and repair flood damage on their homes. This initiative was supported by our contractors such as RP, Dakota Valley Emergency Services District, and will help our community take another step and move forward. This shows how working together creates progress and actionable results. Thank you to everybody who contributed to the progress we currently see today. With your continued support and vote, we can ensure North Sioux City remains strong, resilient, and thriving. Let's keep moving forward and working together to better our community.
Thank you, Cody. Lynn Hoffman.
Okay. Actually, I would like to finish my last statement of the opening statement that I didn't read. I believe our city must continue to develop and enhance amenities that will enrich the lives of all residents of North Sioux City. creating a citywide family-oriented park, a splash pad for the city people, the children of our city, and looking to provide a dog park for our four-legged friends. These are just a few of the amenities that can be achieved. Thank you again for your interest in our community.
Thank you, Lynn. Bob Davis.
I am all for the citizens of North Sioux City, and like Lynn said, let's do something for them for a change. You know, I've been here since 1970. I've been mayor for a while, I was on the council, and I've been on the county board, and we just need to take a little out and sit back and look at what's going on and correct it. If everybody on that council now had been doing such a good job, why didn't they all run again?
Okay, that's a closing remark there, Bob. Way to go. Putting it right where it's at. Thank you. Julie Burhoop.
I think it's time for our leaders and our entire community to level up. We can be better than what we have been. We need a code of ethics for our city council. We need to respect one another. We need better processes and better systems across all of our departments. You know, I think Rusty did a great job, but once that plan got implemented, there were about another 40 steps that none of us as citizens knew about. We can do better. I want to be a part of helping our city be better. I want to be better with you. I want to listen to your ideas.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Julie Burhoop and Jessica Strain.
On December 10th, the citizens of North Sioux City voted for a change. When we did that, it put our city in a chokehold. The city has not progressed since then. We can't afford stagnancy like that. 9 months after the flood, and we still don't have answers. We need leaders who are well-versed in management, listen to people's ideas, work as a team, can network, and use their resources to make informed, educated decisions for all of us, no matter where you live in North Sioux. You guys have a decision to either vote for more of the same or vote for the change that you wanted so badly on December 10th. I think it's time to hit a reset button.
Thank you, Jessica. Daniel Zaraf.
Let me just reiterate the fact that I worked along with, in all the jobs that I mentioned previously when I was in Wisconsin, working with us in the state capitol, working with one of the Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, who provided planning and economic development service to the county, city, villages, and town governments in the state of Wisconsin, including hazard mitigation. Let's provide closure to the McCook Lake people. Let's also consider, in conclusion, that I would like to thank my wife since I've known her since junior high, and my family, and all of your families, and pray for you all, that God bless you all in your time of trouble and needs. We also like to thank the people of North Sioux City, American Legion, and Dakota Business, and following the addresses. Knowledge comes from your past experiences, how you deal with them, and all the situations you encounter throughout your life and shape you as a person you are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vincent D. Tucker.
Guys, I'm not against growth. I'm not against any of that stuff. I'm only here for you guys. I want to make sure that we have plenty of involvement from our citizens. I want our citizens to be involved. I watched it on YouTube the other night, last Thursday night, when our council decided to tell 280 people that they didn't get a chance to vote because we didn't have a date on top of it, right? I think that's the whole point. That's why I'm here. I think that the people need to decide what's going on. I don't think it should be up to just 5 people. I think we need to have people interact with us. I think they need to tell us what they would like to have. I think we need to converse with people. I think we need to bring all of this stuff back. It's called democracy. I think we need to do it.
Okay, thank you very much, Vincent. And the last one, David Welch.
Yeah, so all this work has been done to overhaul our governmental structure so that we could experience new leadership. There's a world where we have 60% of our new spots of our current government being filled by members from the existing council. It's been 9 months since the flood, and we don't even have ideas brought to the table to find resolution for our community that's suffering. Those that have had the opportunity to bring resolution to our community need to be able to explain why a path forward hasn't been selected and communicated. Either they don't have the ideas to get it done, they're not capable of working with other people to enact those ideas, or worst of all, they've been sitting on those ideas for 9 months waiting for this change to occur and have thrown away valuable time. I believe that the people of North Sioux City deserve members who can work together. I agree with my opponent Vince, don't repeat history. It's time that we stop allowing the same individuals and groups of ideologies that have led us to this dysfunction that we experience. We deserve a total reset.
Okay, thank you very much. That ends the candidates' closing statements. I'll read my closing statement, and we will be done on time. Thank you for all being here tonight and participating in such a thoughtful and respectful discussion. Whether you asked a question, shared a concern, or simply listened, your presence makes a difference. This town hall is just one part of an ongoing conversation, and your engagement is what keeps our community moving forward. North Sioux City is stronger because of people like you, people who care, who show up, who want to be part of the solution. So let's keep this dialogue going, support one another, and continue working together for the good of our town. Safe travels home, and we'll see you at the next gathering. Good night, everyone.
Damn, I'm glad you remembered that.